$5 Games presents Taking the Bait. MatPat in the Game Theory channel, yes, he's leaving this year, he released a video talking about introducing someone to video games. And I would like to continue that discussion with a story. My son's story. And his very first video game. We left him a little too close to the controller when he was still 0 years old. And either through random chance or the premonition of his future, he caught a Pokemon. But that wasn't his real introduction to video games, as I never really let him play games on my phone. We limited his exposure to TV, and I spent many nights holding him until he very gradually drifted to sleep, which was usually about 2 a.m. at night. After several nights, I became bored. Very, incredibly bored. And so I decided to watch Mario ROM hacks on my phone, which he, being right next to me, watched as well until he fell asleep. And now we get to the part where I'm quote-unquote a terrible parent. See, my son has always struggled with speaking. It's due to him being born right before COVID-19 started, bad parenting, and him not being interested in speech. We tried speech therapy, but the therapist seemed more interested in figuring out whether or not he was autistic than actually trying to help him. And by the way, he was like 95% not autistic. We brought him at 3 years old to school, hoping that being around other kids his age would help. It did not. At one point, we even felt that he regressed what little he did communicate. And now he was 4 years old, only saying 1 to 2 words. At that point, I had to sit back and think about myself. I wanted him to feel motivated to talk. And for me, until I was a teenager, the only thing that I had a passion talking about was video games. That did ostracize me from my peers, but that's not the point. The thing was, we were playing Zelda Breath of the Wild at the time, and although we offered him the controller, that game is too complicated for a first game, and I wanted to give him his first game. A first game is extremely dear to any gamer's heart, and the first game you play isn't necessarily your first real game, as the first game that I ever played was the Winter Olympics on the SNES, and that was a terrible experience. My second game, Kirby Superstar, was my first real game. So for him, I wanted an easy game, and I heard people complaining about how easy this game was, and I was kind of interested in it. It just wasn't high on my list, but I needed to take the chance. So I got him Yoshi's Crafted World. I started it up, gave him the Switch Pro controller, yep, with all of those buttons that MatPat's video discouraged, and sat next to him, letting him be confused for a while. Then I ran through the level and started it over, giving him the controller. It clicked. He understood what he needed to do, and he wanted to do it. Yeah, he would get stuck on moving, on jumping, swallowing enemies, basically everything, and I would show him what to do. We didn't make much progress that day, but on the next day, we just let him have at it, and he made it through half of the level just fine. We would repeat that process on later levels. He would get stuck, I would just run through the level once, start it over, he would learn what I did and try to do it himself. When he got his first flower, we thoroughly congratulated him on getting it. That instilled a need in him to get every single flower. Now he would shout "flower" and come get us whenever he got one, which he still does, and we still congratulate him. He then wanted to point out everything that happened on the screen as he went went through the level. I would be upstairs working and he would come up and tell me about the octopus or the dinosaurs, and that just makes me so happy. Then, while we were playing Zelda, he learned about the shrines, and he would always shout shrine and point them out whenever one appeared. And if I did not immediately go there, he would get visibly upset, even cry, and we would talk about what was wrong. We would talk about how I would go there and that he just needed to be patient. Whenever we would die, like to a Lionel, he would ask if we needed help and would offer to try to fight it himself. I let him, at 4 years old, play for hours every day, and I still do, against every single recommendation out there. Video games has helped him communicate more than anything else. Now, that being said, he still struggles, and I know people are going to blame it on us letting him play video games so much, but I disagree. Within a month, he beat the true final boss, Kamek, where you have to hit like 50 flying planes and cars like a rhythm game without missing a single one. My spouse can't even do it. Today, a year later, he has beaten Yoshi's Crafted World twice, Kirby's Return to Dreamland 3 times, Mario Odyssey twice, and has done both the fire and water temples in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And this is where I go back to MatPat's 10-step video. It's not like he's entirely wrong. Running and jumping is a difficult skill, and it was one of the last things that my son learned. Helping our kids accept failure and overcome it is more important than preventing challenges in their life. As my spouse said, when everyone removes the obstacles in your life, it feels like they're calling you stupid. Maximilian Dude brings this up about fighting games, that they can be extremely complicated, and the developers of these games have been trying to tone them down to a casual audience. But the thing is, if the player is interested enough in a game, it doesn't matter. They will overcome whatever obstacle is in their way to learn the mechanics and have fun. And although MatPat mentioned in the last 30 seconds of the video that it was important to see whether or not the person you were introducing to video games was having fun, for me it felt overshadowed by the 20 emotional minutes that were spent on the 10-step plan. Now, soon my mother will have gotten her doctorate degree. She has lived for over 70 years without ever playing a single video game, and she is looking forward to playing her first video game, which she won't even try until she gets her doctorate. And let me tell you, I've been thinking about this for a very long time. Will I give her Yoshi's Crafted World like my son? No, she's not going to be interested in playing a dinosaur dragon who lays eggs. She likes strategy, card games, board games, and spending time together. An RPG is much more up her alley. But to start, I'm going to play Mario Party with her. The main thing is to check where she struggles and where she has fun. Does she get motion sick? Is she interested in the plot? Does she like the cute characters? Or does she just want to spend time with us? When introducing someone to a video game, it's important to observe them and understand what their interests actually are. In my opinion, that's one of the reasons why there is a correlation between basketball in real life and basketball video games. And then I'll pick the next game based off of that. Personally, I've learned that most games have something fun that I can enjoy. But I've learned that people on the internet like to complain about something to the point where it becomes a struggle to find anything enjoyable about it, or that they get stuck in the past, or on personal biases that cause them to miss out on what's out there. For MatPat's video, I mostly felt that it focused on the wrong thing, and that for what it did focus on, it overcomplicated it. There was this huge concern about dying to the first Goomba in Mario, and that really shouldn't be that much of a concern. Yeah, it's funny. I'd guess it was put in there for clickbait, but I don't know. Maybe he was actually serious about it. I do value MatPat as a person. He's able to reach and influence a lot more people than me, and that should be valued. He's able to stand up in front of an audience and give them a show. He produces videos that provide content both to the viewer and other YouTubers. I may heavily disagree with his content, but I'm more like a phone book that has been outdated for years now. But that's okay. I got my own social problems and I'm working on them. Also, at this point, this channel is more of a novelty than anything else. Anyways, thanks for watching. Back to normal reviews until my next random piece of inspiration. Consider going out and watching the rest of MatPat's videos this year just to give him a strong send-off, since he has put a lot of effort into the channel and deserves a very fond farewell. Take care, everyone.